Hey everybody, we are back. Welcome back to the Fake College Football Podcast. This is your host, Loco Pobbs. Guess what? We're still going to get an episode in before the end of Week 6. But before we dive into almost all of the games having finished for Week 6, we are going to talk some about Week 5, ranked wins and losses, other fun, exciting things to look at. Overall, we'll look at normal games, see what have gone on, talk a little bit about average difference and success rate darlings through 5 weeks and how they fared in Week 6, as well as a little bit of a comparison between the Speed Cup that NOLA is running on the side and how quickly games have or have not finished within a normal season week. So, diving right in, let's look at the results first from Week 5. Overall, we had 8 ranked teams lose. 3 of those losses did occur to other ranked teams. Valpo was upset by St. Thomas, 34-24. That is number 2 losing to number 6. Number 4, Florida State lost to number 10, Duke, 52-49. Really close game there. And number 7, Tulsa defeated number 11, North Texas. So not an upset there. 42-18 was that final score. 2 upsets there by ranked teams over higher ranked teams, but not big ranking differences. Number 6 over number 2, number 10 over number 4. We're not seeing like a number 3 losing to a number 21 at all, but still good to see some upsets. It means like, oh, hey, it's early in the season still. It's kind of hard to rank teams, which anybody doing the coaches poll will tell you that. So if you're not doing a coaches poll and you think that somebody voted incorrectly or that we're not getting the results that you kind of think we should be having in the voting poll, get a submission in. It's always good. There's, in my opinion, plenty of time that you can put one in between when games are finished on Sunday and when we release the poll on Wednesday. That's really about as much time as we can give. And as we get closer and closer to when committee starts putting out some playoff visions of kind of what they're going to see, some initial rankings, they take much longer because they actually discuss this stuff. So while you can try to put a coaches poll out there because that adds to the immersion, that makes it more exciting, it feels like we've got more people who are actively participating instead of just submitting a number once or twice a day to try to get through part of a game. Looking at other upsets that happened to ranked teams. Number 16 and number 17, so Charlotte was number 16, Mississippi State is number 17, both lost their games. Charlotte lost to UMass 35-24, and Mississippi State lost to Texas A&M 22-14. Number 20, Towson lost to Furman 24-17. Number 22, North Dakota lost to South Dakota State 52-38. And number 25, Texas lost to Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry game 51-30. So 2 teams in the top 10 got upset, and then we didn't have any really super surprising upsets or really a ranked team losing to an unranked team until we got down to 16. So number 12 really to 16, 15 all safe, and then more teams in the bottom 5 of the rankings, 20-25. Really it's bottom 6, then really within the middle 10. But 3 of those other losses are just by 1 score. However, 2 of those losses were also by at least 20 points. So there's that wiggle room in there where like, oh, goodness me, we've got either a close game or somebody losing by at least 20 points. That's kind of surprising, but at the same time, that was just the 5th week of the season. We might have teams subbing in for another, or coach subbing in for another team. You may have just lost a coach to a team and they come in and it's a rookie coach who nobody's got any scouting or kind of information on, and they can come in and they can have a really, really good game their first week. I said last time that both Tulsa and Towson were poised to be upset. I was right on one of those, but overall, I don't feel great being 1 for 2 because the one I missed ended up being a 24-point miss. So that's a little unfortunate on my part, but overall, nice to say, oh, hey, at least one of those teams getting upset was a good pull by me. But overall, good for Tulsa getting that win. They won by 24 points, so that's exciting. North Texas, hopefully you can bounce back in week 6 and so on. Overall, pleased with how we're seeing games go for top 25. I don't want to see like the top 15 or 16 teams all kind of dog walking their opponents, not really having to work to survive, especially early in the season. So that's encouraging to see. As we move to week 6, we only saw 3 double ranked matchups this week, and none of the teams in the top 10 were playing another ranked team. The thought being that the table was then set for some big upsets, especially for top 10, top 5 teams. All 3 of number 2 through number 4 were on the road this week. So as much as that makes a difference, they were kind of set up to be upset. Looking at upsets so far, number 1 and number 3 have both lost. Can Tulsa hold on to at least keep the top 5 losses down to 2? Tulsa is trying to stay undefeated as well, so that's really exciting. 2 of the 3 double-ranked matchups so far in Week 6 have gone to the lower-ranked team. With the way that this episode is coming out, having had so many of Week 6 games finished, we're going to talk about, like, oh, hey, we saw that Wyoming lost. Downfalls the Cowboys, downfalls Dick, but there's so much time for them to bounce back. A one-loss team can easily come back and make the playoff, win the playoff. We'll see what happens there. I'm not going to dive in a lot to some of the games because there's other stuff I want to talk about. There's really got to be something for me to talk about next time as well, because I still want to get an episode out between Week 6 and Week 7. So I'm going to look a little bit now at average difference and success rate darlings. So those are the graphs that I put out between the weeks, and that's got kind of the 4 quadrants where you want your team to be in the upper right. For average difference, that means you've got a low average difference on offense and a high average difference on defense. For average difference, that is for all plays where you are either in possession or out of possession. In possession, you're on offense. Out of possession, you're on defense. What does that mean? That means on kickoffs, if you were the team kicking off, you are on offense, so you are contributing to that part of your statistics. If you are receiving a kick, you are on defense, same with receiving a punt, and that is contributing to that part of your statistics then going forward. Success rate is just on plays that are either run or pass, because there's not a defined way to say a punt, a field goal, I guess you can say a field goal is made or miss, is successful, a kickoff, a PAT is kind of the same thing. You could say make or miss, but the statistic used both in college football and in the NFL is just looking at run and pass plays. So that's what we use for success rate as well. Looking at some of the teams that kind of are in that upper right we're going to start with both graphs, and I've got like 1 or 2 teams to talk about that are better in one than the other. Notre Dame lost to USC this week. Looking at Notre Dame, big upper right team, both average difference and success rate. They played USC this week and they lost. This game goes back and forth, a very exciting game. USC is kind of a half darling by my statistics. They've got a good average difference, especially on defense. They sit more in the upper right, really just closer to the top in general. Their average difference on offense is closer to league average, but still better than league average. Success rate, they're much closer to league average for both statistics. So Notre Dame losing to USC, I guess at least looking at these 2 statistics, it's a bit of an upset, but both of these teams are in the better third to quarter of the league for both of those. So nice to see that those are still kind of indicative of good performance. Michigan State, good team for both those statistics. Played Maryland, they won. They're looking really, really strong through the first half of the season. They're sitting now at 4-2. Indiana State, who again was kind of a surprise. They started 2-0, and after 5 weeks, they're definitely out kind of near the front for both average difference and success rate overall. They lost in double overtime to Purdue, so then they've now fallen to 2-4. So they've lost 4 straight games. Their coach had some stuff to say about that in the Discord, a few complaints. Understandably so, it sucks to lose 4 in a row. But something for them to take away is that all 4 losses have been 1-score losses so far. So that kind of lines up with the, okay, hey, if you're not winning, you're going to keep it close, especially if you can keep your average difference and your success rate near the front of the pack. You have 1 or 2 bad plays kind of go against you. That can keep your statistics high, but you still may end up losing the game. Both of these stats don't necessarily show, oh, hey, clearly this team should or should not be winning, but they're more likely to. Indiana State, while they've not won half their games, have kept all of their games either close or won. Eastern Carolina just recently got a last-second win against ranked SMU, so it's a nice upset for them from a coaches poll perspective. But overall, they are definitely a team that probably deserved a little more recognition, especially by my statistics. If we take a look at average difference, Eastern Carolina has the best offensive average difference. They're not in the top quadrant, though, because their defensive difference is below league average. If we try to find SMU in this graph, this is me trying to do this live, and that's not a great idea. I can't easily find SMU, so that may demonstrate something anyway. That, oh, there's SMU. They are, if you look at like the diagonals, they're probably a tier 3.5 team based on like, if you cut a diagonal from the upper left to the lower right, and you kind of work your way back, thinking Notre Dame, Michigan State, Rhode Island, and ECU, Indiana State are probably all top tier, at least by average difference. SMU is probably 3rd tier, but definitely have a better average difference defensively than Eastern Carolina. They're able to pull something off, though, get a nice upset, moved 4-2. Keep an eye on Eastern Carolina. We'll see if they can get their average difference up above league average and continue to move forward. They're 4-2. They probably deserve to be ranked. Duke also beat Virginia. They're 5-1 now. Duke is probably like a USC in terms of maybe a tier 2 from average difference. They're not nearly as strong defensively as the Trojans, but if we jump over to success rate, Notre Dame is kind of out in front of everybody. And then you come back, Duke is probably part of that second tier if you're giving Notre Dame a tier on their own. If you're not putting Notre Dame on your own, Duke deserves to be top tier for success rate. So combining that with a nice upper quadrant average difference set, Duke is probably poised to be ranked pretty highly. They moved to 5-1. So keep an eye on the Blue Devils. Keep an eye on the Pirates of Eastern Carolina. Both of these teams, I will probably have them ranked relatively high, certainly ranked in the coaches poll, but we'll see what everybody else does once the poll comes out next Wednesday. I mentioned Rhode Island. They are definitely a tier 1 average difference team through 5 weeks. Looking at success rate, you have to really work your way back on the offensive success rate portion to find them. They're still pretty good defensively. They've got, that's probably a top 15, top 20 success rate on defense, but they're just slightly better than league average on offense from a success rate perspective. But again, they're way out there on average difference. That only really helps you so much though. They won in overtime. They're able to move to 3-3. So congrats to Rhode Island there. Moving forward with that, that's exciting to see, but I'm not sure how they'll look after 6 weeks, whether they'll come back to the pack a little bit with average difference or be able to make themselves stand out a little bit more from a success rate perspective. Briefly looking at undefeated and winless teams. We'll start with winless. There are 2 teams that have not yet won a game in season 11. One of them is Illinois. The original Illinois coach that started the season with us had enough delay of games throughout their first 5 games that they were removed from their position, and we have brought in a new Illinois coach. They unfortunately lost week 6, their game as well. So Illinois is 0-6. Texas State is still just 0-5. They currently have a lead against Arkansas State. If they're able to hold on, that will get us down to just 1 winless team through 6 weeks. Personally, I think that's a really good thing. The fewer winless teams we can have, especially through like half of the season, there's a little more hope for some of those teams to pursue a bowl at least. Wisconsin, I'm sitting at 2-4 right now. Outside chance at making the playoffs because I have to kind of run the table in conference and win the conference championship game to probably get a bid. That's very doable, but another goal for me is probably to at least try to make a bowl. So I have to go, what is that? At least 4-2 the rest of the way to make a bowl. That's doable. I've definitely gone on runs like that before, but working for a bowl game, at least for me, is still a fun thing to do. Bowl games, I think, are still fun. Yeah, you don't win a championship, but we have 148 teams. 147 of them are not going to win a championship. So the fewer winless teams we have through 6 weeks, the more teams we have trying to fight for a bowl game. I think as we move closer to the end of the season, I may try to keep an eye on what teams are or are not yet bowl eligible and kind of see who to keep an eye on each week to see if they can make progress like for that. You're seeing that a lot more currently in actual college football. We're seeing a discussion of, okay, hey, who can become bowl eligible this week? Who needs to win out to do that? As we get closer to the end of our season, that same conversation can happen. On the flip side, with a few teams that were undefeated coming into week 6 having fallen, we only have 3 undefeated teams left. 2 of them have won so far, so we've got 2 6-0 teams. Tulsa has not yet moved to 6-0. As I mentioned, they're currently winning. Can they hold on? Can that number of top 5 losses stay just at 2? We'll have to kind of wait and see, but just 3 undefeated teams left. Halfway through the season, I could have maybe seen 1 or 2 more teams surviving. That would have been nice. You have 5 or 6 that make it to, say, week 8. Each game just becomes that much more of a pressure cooker for them. You see more and more coaches kind of keeping an eye on those games. That's really exciting. There's a bit of prestige and a little bit of a different kind of shine on a team that is still undefeated in the second half of a season. But bringing the top of the teams closer and closer to the rest of the league, at least from a record perspective, does bring more energy, and like everybody is kind of beatable then. Everybody feels like you have a chance to play a team with 1 or 2 losses and get a win. If you're trying to do that in week 10 or 11 to make a bowl, to make an outside push for the playoffs, that's really exciting. And you feel like you've got a little bit more of a chance against a team that's got 1 or 2 losses compared to a team that's got a big old 0 there in the second half of their record. So I guess good luck to Tulsa. Can they hold on? Can they keep the undefeated teams at 3? But if they can't, I mean, we know who's going to probably be 1 and 2. The rest of the coaches poll is kind of up for grabs then. So overall, that's pretty exciting. But 2 winless teams, 3 undefeated, still waiting to see if Texas State and Tulsa can hold on. But Otherwise, I've got a little bit of a segment about the Speed Cup that I'm going to slide in here because I recorded that yesterday because I was able to pull from our database some statistics about play speed, response speed, and kind of take a look at, okay, how is this other competition that NOLA is running comparing to season 11 so far? So let's jump to that. We are almost done with week 6 of season 11. So I wanted to compare season 11 normal games to the Speed Cup games, the competition that NOLA is currently running, kind of that happen, or at least start partway through each game week that started a few game weeks ago in week 4. So to start, season 11 has 444 games so far. The Speed Cup has 36. That's less than 10% of a normal season's games so far. Sample size, keep that in mind, not exactly apples to apples. And it's easy to say, okay, these 36 games have been faster, have been more appropriate, or been easier to finish than the 400 some games that we're trying to finish in a normal season so far. So we have another 444 games to finish just to be done with the regular season. We have another 18 games to finish for the Speed Cup before we move on to what's going to be the knockout round, I think. But looking at average response speed for both the offense and defense for plays that have response times for both sides of the ball. So this excludes delay of games. This excludes plays that kind of are still ongoing as of when I pulled the data, which was this morning, November 13th. And I'm not sure if kneels and stuff like that get included in this. It doesn't really matter. It's not that many more plays, but certainly we have fewer delays of games in Speed Cup games compared to regular season games. Part of that is just the selection of the coaches for those games and the emphasis on making sure we get the game done and the penalties for not getting a game done or getting a delay of game called on you. But looking at average offensive and defensive response speed for season 11 games so far, this includes games in week 6 that are still happening, we are looking at 2,234 seconds per play for the offense. How many minutes is that? That's 37 minutes. For the defense, they're actually a little bit faster, about 30 minutes per play response speed. Again, this is all plays that happen overnight, plays that happen during the work week for some folks or a school day, but over 30 minutes is the average response speed for both offense and defense in a regular season game. That's fine. I think largely we could deal with that if we needed to, so not too bad. If we go to the Speed Cup, we are looking at offenses responding in less than 15 minutes. That's really good. That's phenomenal. I think that's better than what we could have expected initially. And defenses are responding in less than 13 minutes. So both of those are about 60% faster than a normal game. Part of that is, oh, hey, you need to get the game done. Part of that is the coaches that are playing in these games. So that's really, really awesome. But something to keep in mind is if you have one or two really long delays in a game, that could push the plays higher, especially in the Speed Cup where we have 36 games so far. 444 games in the regular season. Okay, a little bit of noise from long delays will bump that average up, but not that much. So let's look at the medians. For a regular season game, the median response speed, so 50% of plays responded, are faster than this and slower than this. For the offense, the median is 45 seconds. Not bad. That's pretty good. The defense is 33. That difference is really, really noticeable. And I applaud anybody who plays defense for getting a response in as quickly as you can. More than half of the defensive plays are responded within 35 seconds, you could say. That's awesome. That's really, really good. Let's look at the Speed Cup. Offensive response speed, median, 24 seconds. Defense is 21. Still a little bit faster, but a 3-second gap between those is much closer than what you see in a regular season game. And both of those are at least 35% faster than the regular season counterparts. That's awesome. And it being so close is really, really good, showing that teams are really trying to respond quickly on both sides of the ball. That's awesome. This is really, really cool to see. But something to keep in mind is that regular season games also have more plays called. So getting the game done faster is both a combination of calling a play faster and having fewer plays to call. Of the 444 games so far in season 11, completed games, which I'm really just looking at through week 5, so less than 400 games, average number of plays is 118. That includes overtime. The Speed Cup games also include overtime, but it doesn't matter as much when we move through the scoring. For regular season games completed through week 5, 118 plays per game. For the Speed Cup games completed, so excluding the 4 or 5 that are currently getting played, 97 plays per game. Super small sample size comparison of only like 32 versus 300 some, but 20 fewer plays per game means the game is going to be played much faster, especially if you are responding 15, 20 seconds faster. Median, on average, you're responding 20 minutes faster. So 20 minutes times 20 plays, 400 minutes, that's over 6 more hours, which is awesome that we can get games done faster. But which is more appropriate, I think, will depend on who you're talking to. I know I was definitely still calling some hurry in Speed Cut games, especially if you get behind. That's how I came back in my second game. I was able to shorten the play clock and just didn't burn off as much time. But if you really lean in to Chew and always let Chew play, you're going to have even fewer plays in a game. But you see that in a regular season game too. Somebody who is air raid or plays hurry is just going to try to get more plays in. That's the strategy I've been trying to use. I'm not doing well in the regular season, but I don't think it is because I'm trying to get more plays in. I think, especially this game against Northwestern, my average offensive difference is just horrendous. No amount of playing faster or slower or using more or less clock was going to help me there. But at least an initial look at the Speed Cup is showing, oh, hey, if you have a dedicated group of coaches, you can get through a lot of games pretty quickly. I don't think this is something we can apply to the whole season. I don't think we can say, hey, game weeks are now going to be a week long and we're going to do new games every 10 days, or game weeks are 5 days. A game starts every Thursday. I don't think that's appropriate. 2 weeks is a nice window, but having the Speed Cup, I think, could become a nice second competition, especially as it is easier and easier for us to spin up more games with the Discord bot and manage some stuff as needed. So that's my little bit of initial information kind of looking at the Speed Cup. We're rounding out the second game day for the group stage. Now, by Sunday, they should hopefully all be wrapped up. There's not many left, but NOLA will then get all the points tallied and stuff, and we'll be able to see, okay, hey, how close or not are some teams to making it out of the group stage? As the Long Island coach for the Speed Cup, I'm 2-0, and I think I have a pretty good chance of getting out of my group. We're going to knock on some wood and hope that that's the case. Before I let everybody go, I want to give a brief recognition to our caller that we've had so far. We've had one voicemail. Please give me a call if you want to leave a voicemail for a future question that you want me to answer, or if there's something else interesting out there that you want me to take a look at or think about or discuss. So I'm not going to play the whole voicemail, at least not for this podcast episode. We're just going to give you a little bit of a teaser, but I do plan to look at what this caller asked about and hopefully discuss it in the next podcast episode or two. We'll see. It may take me a little while to kind of get comfortable with what everything has got from a statistic perspective, but it's something certainly to look at. So let's take a quick listen to part of the voicemail to get everybody a little bit interested in that, and make sure you come back for the next episode.
Knock, knock. Does this thing work? It's everybody's favorite coach. I don't even need to say my name. Y'all know who I am if you're listening to the podcast.
So you're welcome to take a guess who that may or may not be. I'm not going to give you an answer yet because you got to come back next time and try to find out who it actually was, or it'll be 2 times from now. I know. We'll see. But the hope is that next episode does not take an extended period of time for me to get back to. Hopefully we can get it to you before or just as week 7 games are starting. Thank you everybody for listening again to the Fake College Football Podcast. My name is Loco Pobs. Let's go Badgers. Let's go Long Island Sharks in the Speed Cup. Everybody keep on doing what you're doing for Fake College Football. Get those games done. We have far too many games that are not done yet. Far too many games that are still in the first half. Coaches out there coaching a first half game. If you need a sub, ask for a sub. We're getting into the second weekend here, so we want to get those games done. Far too many games aren't finishing or aren't getting close yet, at least to our level of satisfaction. There's always going to be some that don't finish, but you know what? The more that finish, the better. So everybody stay well out there. Good luck with the rest of week 6 of season 11. Guess what? We got week 7 in season 11 next week. 7-11. Let's go, everybody. Have a great day. Talk to you later.